Okay, let's call this special board meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Ballard?
Here.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Sturgill?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First hearing of the public. Yep, first hearing of the public.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Rhoda Lee. I live at 1904 West 22nd Street, Lorain, Ohio. I'm here at this meeting today, special meeting, because of my concerns, particularly in what I read in the newspaper Saturday. Number one, we knew, and this board knew, that when the state took over, that what the powers of the CEO and the powers of this board would be, which caused a great concern. We knew prior to that, and even asked, and I came before this board to see if that could have been halted, which it was not. That's when we should say it. But my concern is that when I see in the paper, number one, we have a CEO who here is in place. We have you as board members. You were elected by this community to do what's in the best interest of our children. And at this point, even with that, when you're talking about engaging with the CEO, I would think that all of you, and through this, would have somehow sent him a letter of contact if there were major concerns that you had at board members. But for you to state and talk about perhaps not approving us getting this levy, which would be a renewal levy, passed, to me, it would be something that would mean that there would be a dereliction of your duties as board members, number one. Number two, to talk about engagement, we need to be engaging these people in the community and residents and voters to come out and let's get this levy passed at that time. It is no time for us to sit around here, and to me, I'll call it what I think it is, petty politics. That it is time for us to come together and stop this foolishness. And when you're talking about budgets and financial records, all of that is public or should be. And as far as I know, when I was working for the state, it was public information. That you have access to all of that as a board. But I'm saying to you and coming here, Major, do not, and I ask and beg of you, and I would fight you with every being in my body, to not deal or bother with this school levy. Let's pass this levy. Let's get the things that are needed for our kids and our students that make it better. And really, really, if we want to engage the CEO, then let's do that. Send them a letter. If you have major concerns, I have been to a couple of the meetings that were publicly held, and I only saw a couple of board members there. And I think it's important. There has been this in the community. There are some things. There is a plan, and I have seen it. It has been sent out to the various agencies here in this community. And I sit on the board of directors for one of those, and I have seen some of the plan. I may or may not agree with all of it, but I'm saying to you, the one thing you do not do, you do not punish this community or this children because of what you feel. Let's get that levy passed, let's put it on the ballot, and let's all of us work in this community to do what we have to do in order to see that our children have the things that they need. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
evening. I know you guys have missed me. Okay, I'm concerned about the levy too. Why aren't you contacting organizations and different people in the community that have always sat on the boards, most of them, when we have a levy? So, what's the secret? Let us know why we can help. I'm used to people getting contacted and having meetings, people donating funds or whatever, then you have a big fundraiser and all that stuff. Are we not doing the same thing? Is it something new? Anybody can answer me on that? Mr. President?
We've never done levies. That's through the levy committee, and we don't operate the levy committee, and the levy committee operates as a separate entity from this Board of Education.
When did they change that?
It's always been that way.
Not the ones I used to sit on, everybody was involved. So now you no longer want the community involved, right?
No, it's not the Board of Education that operates the levy.
I know you have a special person to organize and all that.
Correct.
Bambi and
I don't know, but it's quiet. Like, we don't know what's going on in the community.
Perhaps it would help if we would say who is on this special levy committee.
We don't know. It's not a branch of the Board of Education. The citizens of the Lorain Committee is a separate entity from this Board of Education. We don't appoint people. We don't direct that committee. They operate separately from this board. Always has and always will.
but you appoint them.
No, we do not.
Okay, I just wonder what was up, and watch some of your languages. You know, I'm not too happy with us still playing games. Our kids are not being considered. It's not about you guys. It's about what we're gonna do to close that gap and get our kids back being well educated. That upsets me when I see this little kitty stuff. Everybody's supposed to be grown here. Everybody have a lane to be in what you're supposed to be, and let everybody else do what they're supposed to do. That would make me happy.
Can I ask you something again?
Sure.
Number one, for years, I too, worked on the levy committee. And you had people in this community who engaged. I know there was Bambi Dillard, Janet Garcia, and a number of us. We worked on that committee. We got out in the community. We got flyers. We contacted, and Bill, you were there. And you know what we did, and it was done. And the board members, this board, knew what their committee members were, who they were, and what we were doing, and we worked together in concert with one another. That's how it works.
Yeah, Ms. Lee, that was facilitated through central office,
Right.
not the Board of Education.
So, well, central office is the
Correct.
board, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, let's not.
Not when it comes to the levy committee itself.
I tell you what, I'm telling you something right now. Let's do it, let's get on it, whether it's central, whether whoever else has to do it, and whoever you have to do. Let's get it and let's get busy.
Well, what I would say is if you're
Come-
interested, contact the superintendent's office or
Oh,
CEO's office at
You
this
know, I
time.
don't have any problem with doing that.
No,
You
right.
know that.
Because
okay.
that's always the way it's
And
been.
well, that's the way it will be, but I still want to get one thing, Tony, and don't you forget it. You were elected. All of you sitting here were elected by the people in this community. And if it says that you, this Board of Education, that you have the authority to put a levy on the board, let's get with it, let's do whatever it is that we have to do to bring these entities in this community together and get this levy passed for our kids. That's all we ask, and the community is asking this. All the rest of that crap, I don't even want to hear it. Except do what we got to do for the betterment of the city of Lorain. You know, we're sitting out, that's one thing I say about Lorain, and I've said it for years, we're sitting on a jewel, and around here we were nitpicking about something else. Let's get busy, let's get this levy ready, let's get it on the ballot, and let's get it passed, and let's do what we have to do for these kids. That's not about you, this board, or the CEO. Let's get that together right now. This is our community, this is our village, and these are our children. And we will not stand by and not even have this levy considered.
May I interject something during the talk for the school? I think what has happened was when they read this report in the newspaper, it does say, it is difficult for the school board to ask voters for more money when the board cannot get information about how the school district is spending money it already has. Then it goes down further and says, if a school levy goes to a vote in Lorain, getting it passed takes a lot of work and a lot of harmony among the school administrators, Board of Education, and the community, which includes students, parents, and residents. It says, again, I think it's just about impossible to pass a ballot initiative when you have a level of distrust. If the trust is absent at any level, I think you create an atmosphere in which passage is highly unlikely. And I think that is what caused the disturbance among the community, because it sounded as if we are not working in harmony.
Amen.
Amen to that one.
So many of those, can I? Many of those statements were from me, and they are absolutely true. So putting a levy on the initiative is one thing. Passing it is a completely different thing. It'd be wonderful if you just put it on the ballot and that minute passed. If we do not have a cooperative environment between the board, the administration, the community, it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to pass. Passing school initiatives, the last new money piece took us 20 years to do it. And there was significant work over periods of time, over long periods of time. We've never disengaged the levy committee. During this entire process, usually the levy committee kind of goes on idle. This thing, the switch has been turned off. Trying to restart that machine is going to be very difficult. And we are operating, whether people like it or not, whether they're wherever or not, in an element not just of distrust, but absence of information. The information we requested for this meeting about financial pieces, this is a public record, as you said, correct?
That's right.
Well, based on our public information request, we have not gotten that public record yet. No, you can't pull it from where? Where? Please, pull it from where?
Inez James, City of Lorain. What I was saying is, even if you said, I said, some of that stuff is public record, so some of it's online.
No, none of this stuff.
That you're requesting?
Yeah, it's not on.
I think what I feel is that, like, it's a disconnect, because you even saying that as a board member to say how difficult and impossible it is. Well, if you don't believe it, how are you going to get community members?
Listen, it's not about believing. We're talking about.
Well, even factually stating it. Even stating it says that you don't have the. You're saying, I don't think we can do it.
Exactly.
And that coming from a board member. Well, it's just being. I'm just stating how I feel.
Right, but how you wait that is because what I am stating are things that are objectively true about passing, about if someone's trying to be elected, if you're trying to pass an initiative, you have to have an element of harmonious work to get it done. It's like deciding that you want to be a doctor and you've got a 1.1 GPA and you're a senior. There are some things that are just logistically pragmatic that if we don't do, you can't knock this thing off starting here. You've got to start here to do it.
But you guys are groundwork. It states that you all have the ability. It says the job that you all have can pass a levy.
First of all, okay.
So you can get the
Inez,
vehicle
please.
started, right? Am I right on that?
I'm not going to. I'm making a statement on. She read some things, and so I'm not debating.
But you asked me a question, so I got up.
Yeah,
so my question
I'm not going to answer
is,
questions.
you don't have to answer it. I'm just going to state it. Is that okay, sir?
I would like to finish what I was saying, and then we're back into the public comment again. Okay. So what I'm simply stating is that right now, the atmosphere, the conditions. This is what I feel. This is not a fact. This is how I feel about this. The present conditions that we are in make it extremely difficult to pass money initiatives in an environment where people don't just give away tax money. That's what I think, based on, because I've worked on all the levy campaigns since I've been here, in other campaigns, and that's what I'm stating. I'm stating that if we do not have a significant change in how we communicate, So we have 3 chances to pass the levy. The first one comes up. We have till, what, 19?
Yeah, you have all of 19.
Yeah,
Yep.
so,
November of 18.
and what I'm
all of
saying is
19.
this, is before we've got to do some work to repair to create some communication, some trust. And this is part of the process we're in right now. This is not the moment of the levy. The statements that I'm making is these are things that have to change in order for this levy to have a chance.
And I'm here as a community
So-
person to say, what can I do? What can we do to help this? Because we do have the ability to change the atmosphere. We really do. Is things bad? If that's what you state and that's the way you feel, you have a right the way you feel. But you put it in the paper, so you gave us the ability to come here and state how we feel. And I feel we can change this, but we have to be willing.
Mr. Hill, are we not just working on a renewal?
Yes, correct.
So if a renewal is, that means that no money is going to come from and add to our property?
No-
Because
yeah,
it's a
No
renewal.
new money. That's correct.
So that's all we're worried about now. Do we need additional money now? Because we're getting, what, 3.12
Million.
million?
Well, at this point, the renewal would be the number one thing, yes. But of course, down the line, 5-year forecast is not fiscally sound all the way through, so of course, at some point, we would have to look at the idea of new money, absolutely.
So the renewal, in other words, is okay, but we need additional money on top of the renewal.
A few years down the road, yeah, that would be something that would need to be considered, but at this point, the renewal, when I do the forecast, I assume the non-passage of the renewal. I remove it and then add it back in at the bottom. So based on that, yes, without the renewal, it's kind of 2 separate pieces. Without the renewal, obviously, that takes us, we aren't fiscally sound for less time, but when you add the renewal back in, considering, then yeah, we're still probably about 3 to 4 years out of needing new money. And it's a timing piece too, because we also have 3 current expense levies that come off the books in 2022. So we would need to put those back on for renewal as well. So there's kind of a window in between those two that we would probably want to look at new money.
So if we go ahead and just do the renewal.
And that's just
then-
staying status quo.
Okay.
That's assuming that we're not saving money, that's assuming current spending levels remain the same, then, yeah, at that point, at some point, 3 to 3.5 years down the road, we would need new money.
But we're worried now about 3 to 4 years coming up.
Well, I'm worried now more about the renewal than I am than that,
Okay.
yeah, because
So the
it's a
renewal
lot
is
of
something
time
that
to
we
look
can
at
automatically
The
saving.
tough thing about losing a renewal is you lose money.
Yes.
I know, but
New money means we get 2019 money, 2020
Additional.
money. Losing money means we go back to 2015, 2014.
but we don't want to lose the renewal.
No,
do
we don't lose the renewal.
Okay. So it's almost like a done deal, isn't it? That if we have the renewal, it's not going to increase property taxes, it's not going to do anything, it's just a renewal.
I don't know
So
that
then
I-
we have enough money
Yeah.
for the next 3 or 4 years, we're fine, financially. Then we need
if
to
everything
add
stays status
additional
quo.
money after that.
Correct. Yeah, if everything stays status quo, yes, we would be fine for those 3 years. I wouldn't go out and say it's a done deal for a renewal. It is much easier to pass a renewal than new money, obviously, because it's
Yes.
not impacting taxpayers
Yeah.
further.
And if we keep letting the taxpayers know that this doesn't cost us anything, except a vote, they should be very pleased with that. And to see how wonderful the board is working with the community, because they don't have to do anything but that at this time.
I've got a question. When we got reports before, which we don't get anymore, we haven't got a report since CEO took over.
I'm talking month-end financials?
So we don't know, we, as a
All of
board,
us.
do not know, we used to know what the finances were.
Mhm.
We used to get 5-year forecasts, right? Didn't we have a $6 million carryover?
From-
Wasn't it last year?
Yes.
We had a $6
Actually, I believe it was
Okay,
more
now,
than 6
now,
million,
what I'm gonna say is this, everybody is assuming, And you always need money to run a school district, don't get me wrong. I've always said every school district is, you have 3 years, okay, before you need to, But, but what, I think what people are trying to say is, we have to justify that we need this money, okay?
Justify you need some money.
You have to, no, you have to justify that you need the money, because things have happened in budgets, state budgets, and our budgets. I mean, I could ask you a question, how much do you think it takes, how much do you think our school district runs on each year?
Millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah, but, I mean, but that's easy, but it's around, with grants and everything, I believe we're talking around 160 million.
Yeah.
Okay, around 160 million, and that 3 million is just a percentage. Do we need it? It could be that we do, because it's always good to, but we have to say is, we
And we
don't,
need a community saying we need it.
we don't know, okay?
know if you need
I can't, would I like it? Yes, I would like it, but I couldn't tell you that I actually know, because we don't have the handle on it that we used to have. We don't get the information that we used to get.
We know we generically need money. We know we generically need money. Our job is not to be generic.
Question.
It's, for example,
I hope I said that right.
there's always a need for money to operate a school district. Our responsibility is to know the financial condition of the district. Yes.
I understand.
Yeah. So that's what we're saying is, we don't have, we will have that. We hope to get it soon. We don't even know why we can't get it now.
Well, there's a guy sitting there now, there's your treasurer.
Would you share with us why we don't have it?
You have the financial reports now. I sent them with this last request, but
So we got reports today.
yes. They received them today.
No, we haven't received.
At 5:07.
At 5:07, I got
That's
an
what you
maybe
need, but that's what you said.
But
Maybe we didn't have it. Now we got it. So the atmosphere is changing.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
It's a
I
lot
understand
of
what you're saying.
information. I worked for the state auditor's office for years, so, but you can get it. It's not, and when you have, guys have the technology now, whatever the board wants to know, let them know. That's not the heavy secret, but let's get out there. And don't talk negative, because we, the community, voted you in, and we are the ones who can say what we want you to do. And we want you to get that levy on the ballot, and we will work to pass it.
I'm Marge Walker. And it seems like that we don't, it's too much administration, it's paying too much money. I don't know, with the CEO, he's spending money like a drunken sailor. I don't know how, when I read the articles in the paper, I just can't make out, how is he gonna pay for it, or how are we gonna pay for it? This is my concern. And also, the other thing that just, when he called, I know this is not relative, but he called the student scholars. And I'm sorry, but it's kind of like telling all the little leaguers that are playing baseball, you all get a trophy just for participation. And I just think the terminology is not correct. Anyways, but getting back to the tax levy, we just don't have enough information from what is being spent, who is being eliminated, and how directly do they really affect the community.
That's right. So we're gonna get all the information that they need, that this board needs?
I am providing the information as soon as it is available to me.
That's scholars, that's
As soon as it's available to you?
Yes.
Then it will be available then, to them?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Of course.
Okay, now.
Mr. Hill, because I hate when there's this ambiguity.
Look,
Has information been made available to you readily to give to us?
Wow.
See, it's the well thing. Either it's a yes or no. It's not a will.
That is a yes or no
So
question.
what happens is, Mr. Hill provides this information when he gets it,
Yes.
but the reality of the treasurer does not have this information.
why not?
That's what I would like to know.
Because I've worked for them for years.
He's in a very awkward position. He's in a tough spot.
Hey, he's in a tough spot, and then you guys wanna put us and our kids in a tough spot?
We're all in tough spots.
No, we
Okay,
ain't, no.
Mark, do
You
you
know
have
what?
anything to add to the levy discussion?
You know what?
No, I think and I'll just
I
add,
think,
and I respect and hear everything that everyone is saying. And we're trying to be the grown-ups in the room in a sense where we're not being petty. But when we specifically hear from our administrators that they're being told not to give us information, that's a problem. And you guys sit there like, hey, you guys can get whatever you want, and that's not true because they're being told not to share with us. That is a problem. No matter how we go here, that's a problem. We can't run a business like that.
What's the protocol? Or do you have?
The board should be able to get any information that they request, as you say. And I'm telling you, we're not getting that. And now they're spoon-feeding some, but the some is not the all. So you can't say, you got what you asked for, because it's not what we asked for. It's pieces.
It's incomplete information.
And then you guys say, well, you come to the town hall meetings. We're there and we hear it all. We have official meetings here where we're able to pass resolutions and those kind of things. That happens in a true board meeting, not in a campfire meeting, you know? This happens in a board meeting. And that's what we're saying. The reality is, and so you guys are all clear. I don't have issue with the CEO. I think he's a fine gentleman. But just the way we're doing business is not the proper way we can do business, but we're trying to not say we're in a tit for a tat kind of a fight, which is what it's being made to. We hear about a levy issue from a community meeting, and now we're being accused of not putting a levy on the ballot, which isn't true. We've never had a conversation with the CEO about a levy. So come and let's talk about the levy, and then we can see where we go with the levy. But we're hearing about it, so you guys are coming to jump us to say, you guys are doing this for the kids, and you guys, hold on a second, I got the floor right now.
They're fine, but it's in the paper.
Because we heard about it from a business meeting where the levy information was brought up on an outside meeting, never in a board meeting. So we get a call from the paper and says, hey, we're in a meeting this morning. What do you guys think about this levy? We have to respond. Well, what's going on with the levy? The first time we're hearing about it is when they call us. Not in a meeting with the CEO to say, okay, what's our plan? That we've requested. We've requested that he comes to every board meeting we've had since he's been here. He's not showed up to one.
He doesn't have the guts.
Ma'am, in there again, that is your right to say your opinion. But we're not, honestly, we will never get anything accomplished by everybody taking their sides and having a battle. That's not what we're here for. We're on the side of the kids.
I have a quick question. At one of the board meetings where I attended, like a month ago, what was her name, Bambi?
Yeah, Bambi.
What was Bambi talking about? She got up on the podium and was talking and asking you guys about a tax levy. When did you want her to start getting things together?
That's right. She did
Did
it
it go
years
over my
ago.
head, or was I did I misunderstand her?
No,
You
no.
did misunderstand.
See, that goes to Mr. Ballard's point about this Board of Education, who has the one authority of levying tax dollars from the community, having a real conversation with the CEO who's charged with the responsibility of spending and using that money. And that has not happened. So therefore, this Board of Education has never, at this point in time, had any conversation about a levy, which way we're doing, whether we're putting one out there, whether we're not putting one out there. We can't give direction to the levy committee if we haven't had a real conversation with the guy that's spending the money.
I understand.
So-
What I'm saying is, when I was sitting here and she was asking, as the board, remember, go back and check, ask about when do you want this stuff to get, why didn't you tell her the same thing that you're telling me right now when she was standing up at the podium? That's what's confusing me. You didn't say anything about we can't do this or this has to go on this, or, you know, you never explained. But now it's like it's a whole different story.
No, it's not a whole different story. We've invited to
No,
Mr.
it's
Ba-
not
no,
about
no,
the CEO.
it is.
It's not- no,
Wait, Tony,
I'm talking
wait,
about-
but-
let me finish. No, you let
No,
me finish.
we've talked,
When
I've
she
talked to
was
Bambi,
in-
yes.
I know, she was up here, they recorded it, and she was asking you, when do you want her to start getting ready? You said, we don't know, do you want this? We don't know. We have to, do you want, you know, she was asking all these questions, we don't know, we'll have to get back with you. That's all you said to her. And I'm sitting here, I'll say, okay, when are we gonna have a levy, what we're gonna do? But if you had explained to her that we have to hear from the CEO's not letting us know anything, I'm cool with it.
Right, but what you're assuming is the conversation that we had with Bambi, we had with, that, listen, I've talked to Bambi. Because Bambi stood in front of us and talked, and you
Right,
were
I
there,
was here. Right.
And when just like after the meeting, I talked to you for about 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And the stuff I talked to you about, we didn't talk about that there. So to assume that there's no communication with anybody,
No, I'm just talking about the levy when Bambi was talking about the levy. Why, I would have been, I'm all right with it if he had, what he's just saying now, I wish he had said it when she was asking the question. It was like, it's confusing to me that, you were saying that the CEO, just be up, if you're gonna be honest now, you should have been honest, the same thing you said to me now, you should have said when Bambi was up there, and you didn't. All you had to say, you can say CEO, right? You can say that, you can say CEO did not get back with us, we don't know, the CEO didn't give us any rundown in the money when she was standing up there. So I'm just saying, if you're gonna say it what you mean when you mean what you say, okay? Be consistent, thank you, with what you're saying. You're saying something here now that you didn't say when she was up there about the levy. That's all I'm saying.
Question again, when you do get the information and the financial reports and everything that you have, would you be then looking at it and making a decision? Or is it something that you just need to see in order?
We always work off the recommendation of the superintendent.
so.
I
Or
can't hear
treasurer,
that. I'm
superintendent
sorry.
or treasurer.
Yeah.
And I'm in a very unique situation, obviously, between, the CEO. I have certain tasks I report to the CEO for, I have certain tasks I report to the board for. What the information, when I have it available, is typically when it's official. Now, I will speak to the fact that a lot of the information that when I receive it, I'm receiving it probably later than normal because there is a lot of very sensitive information. There's a lot of changes going on. There are a lot of, whether it be positions not being filled or new positions added. I mean, these are all, it involves people's personal lives. So at this point, people are well aware of the public records piece of it. So until something official, and when I speak to official, when I get a signed contract or I get a signed, a request for funds, things along those lines, and be that for a new contract or be that for a new employee, that is when it becomes official, and that is when I'm able to supply it. And between both, I mean, it's just, I don't believe, it's just a very sensitive time. And I think that's what some of the things that are being kind of lost in between both sides. We're dealing with people's livelihoods, we're dealing with major changes in a community that is, it's gonna be a difficult transition.
So you're saying there's a lag in information before things actually become official?
Before they're official, that is correct.
But
Okay.
in our history as a board, though certain things aren't public, we're briefed on things
Yes.
as they are developing.
Well, because.
So, when you hear it, we've already heard it.
Yes.
We don't typically hear our information when you hear the information.
There's
So-
lead up to it, because previously, they were the ones making it official.
Amen.
So that lead up
Everybody's in
is,
transition,
yes.
understanding that
Yes.
role.
And we've never had to do a public information request as a board member of a district from your district. I mean,
Things are changed, so
Yes.
Yeah.
we have to roll with the changes.
Yes.
I got a question. Bambi, how can we get Bambi's information as a citizen so I can figure out how I can support Bambi when we do to make a decision?
Oh, she will.
Is there, anybody have a Bambi's, what's her full name, Bambi who?
Bambi Dillon.
Is there contact information for her? Okay, then I will
Bambi Dillon.
contact her.
Bambi Dillon.
Let's see.
I have.
Dylan?
Dylan.
Dylan.
Dylan, I have her. You wanna know?
See, I
do.
wrote something
I do.
because I'm trying to understand this myself. Exactly what Inez said, a board in transition. When we were here before, we had a lot of power to do all the things that we wanted to do because it was different. Now we have a CEO and he does not have to tell us anything until he gets ready to tell us something. The only thing that we are, I guess, have our hands on is the levy. That's it. We can't talk about employment. We can't talk about things that are in transition because we have a CEO. And when you have a CEO, he does things the way that he wants them for the betterment of the children. And because he's a change agent, it makes it very difficult for us to understand when we've been, for instance, Tony's been on the board for 10 years. He was used to a sequential way of providing information that is no longer there. And so all of a sudden, he doesn't get any information. All of a sudden, we don't get information because he does not have to do that because he is the power now. There is no superintendent, you know. So now there's a Mr. Hardy, and he's trying to become this wonderful change agent for us so that we can get things done. So now there's a gap between what we know, what they know, and what he does.
But that's absolutely correct. What hasn't changed, though, is what they didn't do in House Bill 70 is rearrange this process. So that process has changed. But this process was directly linked, like it is in 640 some other school districts, to how this works. So when they change that piece of that, it now impacts this entire process. And so what's going to happen is, though Mr. Hardy has absolute autonomy,
yes,
he will have to work with this body sooner or later.
Yes.
It is unavoidable. It's non-negotiable. The only way we're going to have a discussion about a levy with the CEO is in a board meeting. Because you know what? We're not allowed to have the conversation any other place. The only place that we are bored is when the 5 of us are sitting here as a board. We can't go to his office and say, let's talk about the levy and that stuff. It's a board meeting. Otherwise, we're violating sunshine law. So what we've requested is that the CEO of our district come to a board meeting, and we can talk about this and a lot of other stuff. And that, I would suggest, I'm thinking it's going to happen. I hope it happens sooner than later. Right now, we are 7 months in. So we could be 7 months in, we could be 8 months in, 9 months in, but at some stage, there's going to be a conversation at a board meeting with the board and its administrative leader.
You know, I sit here and I wonder, coming down through the years and seeing things, now I see really why a lot of things and these young people are rising up. Because this is a bunch of crap.
It is.
Okay? The way it's doing, the protocol, then I would say to you, as a board member, if that's what you're saying, have you all invited the CEO to sit down and talk about the levy?
Every board meeting.
Every board meeting
Every board
since he
meeting.
was a candidate.
Ms. Lee, and for some clarity,
Yes, please.
and to your point, the first item, 8.01 on our agenda, is levy discussion. The CEO was invited so we can have a full-fledged discussion on the levy for the first time. Until we have that conversation with him, it's hard for us to make a decision one way or another, and we haven't made a decision because this is the only real conversation we've had about the levy. So that's why he was invited to come here. I requested some information from him, and unfortunately, I didn't get the information we needed, nor did he make an appearance this evening. So now, we have to do it again for the next meeting, and see if he comes to the next meeting. But all we can do is invite him.
It prolongs the process, so it's just politics.
It's all politics.
You know, is there any way,
It's a
to
political
me,
body. It's like
Politics at its
Congress.
best. It's
Listen,
politics at its best.
Yeah.
Listen, it is politics
It is
because that's what
politics.
this is.
That's it.
We're elected officials.
Right, for us.
Are a political process to
Not
put
too hard for
initiatives
us.
on ballots. There's a process that it goes through. It's not a bad process.
No,
It's what
but-
it is.
But the kids continue to suffer because we can't.
is there any kind of way that we can be informal and have him come and talk to us without violating the sunshine law? There's no way.
No, not
Mr.
if you're
Hill,
talking
no?
school business and you're an
If you got
elected
a,
official.
yeah, if you got a quorum, there has to be minutes taken.
Okay.
Correct.
I do have an additional
What
question.
you're saying
I'm
is
sorry.
if if you were to submit a letter asking the CEO, Dr. Hardy, to come to meet with you here at a special board meeting or a board meeting to discuss the levy along with the community and, you know, what we see and hear at your next board meeting.
Or even
Would
form
you
a
try
letter
that
with the
again?
questions that you have for him and let him answer.
Would you try this again? Would you put that in immediately?
Absolutely, we invite him to every meeting. It's not, he gets a formal invitation.
A special meeting, an immediate meeting, since this time is of the essence, as you say.
Write a letter asking what you want to know.
That's right.
And everybody sign it.
Let's put it on the table.
Just push it as hard as we can so we can move forward.
Because this community is.
Does anybody have any idea why we're getting the resistance that we are about getting the information that we sorely need? I don't understand the gap that we have, that we cannot, as a board, work well when we want to with our CEO.
Because people feel like it's a state takeover.
The reason we have and this is my personal opinion.
Okay.
So correct me if I'm wrong. The purpose of having a CEO is because we were having trouble with, in the beginning, the school board.
Yes.
So now what we have a CEO, and this is my personal opinion, don't get me wrong, because I have kids in the school system. It says he's here to try to correct some of the problems that we have, that we've had in the past with the school board. So if we didn't have a CEO coming in to do his job, correct me if I'm wrong, then how can we get to, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, I'm just saying, it's like I can't cook in the kitchen if I don't have all the ingredients, but I need somebody to come in and help me. So he's here to help, but he has a certain way, this is what I'm thinking, that I know how to do my job one way. You guys already know how to do your job. But the purpose of having the CEO was because we were having problems. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay.
Yeah, so we have to work cooperatively together.
You didn't have, it wasn't because totally of that. It was a political move, not only statewide, but nationally.
Right.
In delving with certain schools. No, with delving, no,
with the school system.
with certain school districts and children who did not pass. Okay, number one, and it'll move on to bring about charter schools, and this is what I see, Charles, that to privatize education, which is a bad idea for our children. That's one of the reasons. Once the state takes over, they have complete control.
Yes. Right, that's what I'm saying.
Over what's happening.
If we had not got
And
in
then
the beginning,
it would be,
we would not have the problem that's coming up now. So
yes,
I'm
we
supposed to be hired.
yes, we
They're trying to work it out.
To the problem.
yeah, we need to
But we
get,
seem like, maybe I'm wrong tonight, I'm not taking side, I'm saying, so we need to try to see how the bottom line, how we can solve the problem with him and the school, because if we had not had a problem in the beginning, we would not have had a CEO, and the state would not have been taken over. So,
we
correct
gotta
me if I'm
work
wrong, we just
together.
need to sit down and figure out how we can put the cake back together so it all can work together. That's just my.
right.
Ms. Brown, can you do me a favor and state your name for the record?
Why?
It is the hearing of the
So
public.
we can put it in notes.
It has to be in the meeting minutes.
Charles Brown.
In your address,
Oh,
this is
man.
part of it.
Y'all don't know where I live?
Reed Avenue.
1745 Reed Avenue, Lorain, Ohio, 44052. And I pay tax there and I run.
And I guess for a point of clarification for myself, Mr. Hill, the renewal is 3 million
3.1 million, yeah.
and
7-year,
and that's great, and we need that money, and regardless of what we need. I'm sure we need all the money that we can get. But also, when the state came with their help, weren't we supposed to also get some additional dollars from the state, like $15 million? Can you update on where we are with that process?
15 million and
I thought the state aid that was coming with the CEO and all of the supports,
I think it could come with that. I don't think it came with that much money.
the state money we receive is for reimbursement for his salary and.
So the
portion
supports that
of
they were giving us, we're not getting any financial supports from the state with being in House Bill 70 and this issue that we're in.
I don't think there's anything specific coming from them that's earmarked for House Bill 70 money, from that I'm aware of. We've got a bump in state funding this year, but that was
What's that
due to
total?
the new state budget. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Do you know what that total is that we got?
2.4 million this year.
2.4?
And next year, we're expected to get around 2.5, 2.6 million additional.
Okay. Now, and was that already budgeted in your forecast? for us
It's
to get
already
that?
in the forecast.
Okay, thank you.
Could you explain what exactly is in House Bill 70 so they can understand
Well,
it? Just
I'm not-
a quick
I'm not
summary.
sure. No,
There's no quick summary.
Even the summary is
I
long.
wanted to ask them a question. Is there anybody sitting in this audience that thinks that our education position came about within the last 2 years?
What came about?
When do you think this started? I mean, Lorraine's slide into non, how far back do you think? Rhoda,
Politics when they started
I
to
remember you
change the
coming.
standard.
I remember
Good
you
answer.
coming to meetings,
Good answer.
and I'm going to tell you what I think. I think this, and I started coming to board meetings in 2003, and I never became a board member until 2010. And I can remember sitting in an audience and discussing this, and we weren't doing very well. And I went to a board meeting because I was a coach, and we had a 10th grader who was reading at a 2nd grade level, and I said, there's something wrong. See, this didn't start, so don't blame this on any particular board. When you talk about boards, but this thing started a long time ago, and now it's up to us.
And it was
to
delivered.
fix it. Yeah, and you're right. To me, this is punishment.
That's
To me,
right.
this is
It was
punishment
This is a
for,
healthier conversation anyway.
you know, for
It's
other
painful as it
political
is.
moves that other people have made, and I'm just getting it, okay? But if you think that anybody sitting here does not want to interact with Mr. Hardy, I can tell you, you're wrong.
I don't think that at all. We want you to come together and do what's best for our kids, so we can move forward. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
And we have kids that are stepping into our school buildings on a daily basis who are traumatized for whatever reason. Well, the mama boyfriend fighting with
I'm gonna tell you
baby
what I
or
think,
whatever.
Rhoda, and I've had conversations with you, you know.
Right.
I think the first thing we solve is the attendance problem.
That's right. And I
Because
said it.
40% of our grade school children have already missed more than 5 days, which, you know, they changed the law last year with
changed
that
the
House Bill
law.
410.
Transportation costs money.
No, it ain't transportation, it's the mamas and daddies
They can
getting
need some
up.
money to get somebody in there to
We've
help
gotta
them.
have parental accountability.
They need money.
That's our major.
Training.
I didn't mean to go off
Go
of
ahead.
that, but that's,
Okay.
And so you guys understand in
I
terms
have had
of,
conversations with teachers in past years who have been teaching for many years. I had graduated in '55. And a teacher that I had then, I had a chance to talk to in later years. And she said she would have done a better job teaching because of the administration was so difficult to deal with. And I had talked to somebody else probably 7 years ago, and she's been retired. And she said because of the kids not having a home life is the reason why she stopped, this was grade school, stopped giving them homework because they didn't know where they were going to spend the night. So we have a lot of social problems here going on besides just the education system. If they don't know where their home is going to be, if they can't have a place that they can call home, we're dealing with more than just education. We're dealing with home life.
A whole lot of issues. And we need money.
That's why we
get back to this.
conversation.
see that those kids that
back
come
on
to
task.
school, if we're gonna be that village, to have the resources available in our
Basically, yeah, like an
schools
80-20 split.
whereby they can come,
Basically,
feel
an 80-20
safe,
split, roughly.
open
On
up,
average,
let
it's
us
more of
know
a
what's
60,
going on.
40.
There are many young children, little children, elementary
Completely
children
different,
who are suffering
depending, I
from
mean,
yeah, I mean,
districts are all over the
right, I'm saying the state
mental
average is
that
40%,
we need to
42%.
look at and to
Depends,
see,
smaller
to
districts.
engage
It depends on the
schools
size.
The average.
community.
This has been going
That
on.
We
is
are-
what we-
This has
we
been
are-
going on too
We're
long.
complete
It's at
opposites.
this
Yes.
point now
Yes,
because
absolutely.
15 years
Too
ago it
long.
started.
All right, yep.
Yeah, it's been going
And
on
I,
too
Let's
long.
try-
before we,
try to-
yeah,
You're not going to fix it up right away.
I want to share one other thing, you know, in terms of our financial piece, because again, we did get the new money finally, a few years ago. But our district presently, in terms of what our local citizens contribute, we contribute about 18 to 20% of the cost per student. on average, the state other districts, it's more like 60-40.
Yes.
So, you know, that's a real challenge when you're always trying to deal with things and you don't really have the needs to deal with them. And so we've said this, we've struggled financially. We've had $12 million deficits, $7 million deficits, $4 million deficits. Dealing with deficits in the money piece, I'll be honest, the money piece isn't going to be the answer or the issue. Working cooperatively is. So we're not going to, at least myself, if we're not working cooperatively, then we're not going to be able to move this ball. We're going to have to work cooperatively to do it. And because this is not about just a money issue. Just like our kids' needs are not just about money. The supports the kids need go way beyond just money. So we're never going to just have a conversation about just money to fix what's going on with our schools and our community.
Well, there's one thing I can say about our community that I saw, and I have to say we need to applaud, number one, our basketball team came in second place. The Lake Erie League, number one, I think Mr. Rossitano, you know, did a magnificent job, you know, and I applaud him with that. And other than that, I don't know if you all saw on the TV, on the news the other morning, when they did area-wide problem with kids and guns in schools that were bought in the schools. They went to Avon, they went to Renfrew, they went everywhere. And guess who came up with zero? Not having to be bothered with guns in the school, or never having even found one. Lorain City Schools.
And that's
so
something to be
Mr.
proud of.
Montague, we need to applaud Mr. Montague and our resources and our resource officers for the job that they're doing. But make no mistake, it happened in other places, it can happen here, and don't think that we don't have some kids running around here with guns, okay? But you know, that is the thing I mean, these are all things that we have to deal with, and like I said, we don't have time for this. No, you're right, Ms. Williams, it will not just take money. It's going to take this whole village, this community, all of us cooperating and doing what we have to do. And opening our schools up, make them friendly, and make the kids feel like they can come in and express whatever it is that they're going through, where they can get the resources and the help that they need as children. Our kids are not stupid or dumb by any means. Some of them are very smart. I see the little 2, 3 years old, 4 years old, the technology that these little kids know. You give them one of those pads and they just go for it, which I couldn't even do. So it's about our children. It's about our village. It's about education. And this is where our main focus should be.
Now, see, to me, what you just said should be blasted in the newspaper. They didn't find any guns here. And the wonderful work that our security is doing. Now, that is a plus that should have been said about Lorain, Ohio, and the public school system here.
I guess I would just piggyback off of what Pastor Tim said. You're right. It's going to take more than money to get it right. Mm-hmm. But if this board's total responsibility at this time is to pass a levy, then let's do our job and let's do it well.
Let's get the levy. Whatever we have to do to get to the CEO to sit down with you guys, get it together, let's get this levy going. Let's make it happen.
And I think as a board, along with putting levies on, is to be fiscal responsibility. And that's what we're asking for, is the information. Just having the information.
Yes.
Well, who has a wonderful suggestion that we can get the superintendent here with us so we can talk about it?
We don't have a superintendent.
I'm sorry, CEO, old school. CEO, we've got to do something so we can all get here together, since all of us want to be positive and work it out. So there should be some way that we can get all of this done simply by a matter of him being present.
Okay.
And I'm deafened by the silence.
It's
I'm
no
not
different.
gonna put him in that
It's no
position.
different from the past. He's been invited. When he's ready to come, I think he'll come. Okay? When CEO is ready to come and sit down, because a board usually works off the recommendations of, I'm not gonna say the superintendent, now we have to work off the recommendations of the CEO. Okay, the first time that this can go on the ballot is next November. That's the first time, right?
This November, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this November.
And some important dates.
It's those trigger dates.
Yeah, there's trigger dates.
There's
There's
filing dates that you have
two
to hit.
resolutions you have to hit. So you have a resolution to submit for the auditor to do its calculation, and then you have a resolution to submit for the Board of Election filing. And my recommended dates, depending on timing of board meetings and stuff, I would say you do one in June and one in July. It has to be absolutely filed by August 5th in order to be on the November ballot.
But understand this, that even if a board decided to put it on, the board is not the one that drives it. It's the end. It's a community.
It's a community, right?
It's the community, because I've worked on every levy that they've had since 2003. I've worked with Bambi on these levies, and so is Rhoda. She is.
And it has to be that way. It has to be a separate entity for legal requirements. You can't ask for funds and also promote, yeah.
When we did the levy for $3.1 million, it wasn't for what we needed. It was for what we thought that we could get from the community, what we could afford. Okay, we actually wanted close to 5, but
we spread out through the communities of Lorain, went door to door, if you recall.
Yeah.
We did the canvassing.
There was a lot of work, and the last time it was passed 64%. So it was, I mean, it was a good thing, but like I said, there's a lot of work, a lot of groundwork that has to be done before we get to that point. And, you know, we wanted Mr. Hardy to sit down and discuss it with us.
How soon can you all get the letter together, the invitation, the special invitation, set up a meeting with Dr. Hardy?
We've sent him several special invitations.
No, I'm talking about now, I ain't talking about what.
We'll send him
Let's
another one.
As the song said, let's do it again.
Right, I mean,
Well,
Can you send a letter requesting exactly what you're asking for? Maybe you can answer the question within the letter.
I've done that several times, actually, before this meeting. When was February 19th? I requested information so we could have these conversations and these discussions. There's a couple items on the agenda that we can't even discuss because we didn't receive the information. I mean, all we can do is request the information. That's all we can do.
And you basically were saying you're requesting this information from the treasurer's office, financial information, or is there other information there?
There's other information pertaining to some of the other finance, again, the pipe yard discussion, the early college discussion,
I don't know
so.
about no pipe yard, I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you about that right now.
Those were
Well,
already
I mean,
discussed.
again,
We discussed that.
Those were
Folks,
We're
listen,
talking about the purchase of the pipe yard?
Ms. Lee, this is a Board of Education meeting, so
Yeah, that's
as a
all right.
board, there are things that we need to discuss. So, again, the financial information was requested, as well as some information about those other things. I'm just giving you examples of what's on our agenda and the information we've requested from him that we don't receive. I mean, it's that clear. It is what it is. You know,
And it's
so.
specific stuff in there. It's like the renovation costs, the cost for operations, the cost for maintenance, the cost for getting the thing into compliance with, there's all kinds of specific things. It's not just a pipe yard. Yeah.
And not just the levy.
Yeah, it's just,
Dealing basically with financial that comes through the treasurer.
the financials, the operations, these are
And
what we
this
have
is
to.
gonna determine if you decide to put the levy on, or is the levy going on
No,
automatic?
what he said is we had other things on our agenda today.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but my
Oh.
question, back to, I just asked the question about, so this is what we're waiting on to go forward with the levy?
This is renewal, right?
It's just a renewal, so you're just asking for the same amount of money, so you really don't need to know what's there, you know what you need. I mean, it's not gonna change, what you're gonna get, based on, like you said, you know you need money, right? That's not, you know you need it. So,
As we finalize this
We're
piece,
saying that.
Josh,
that's-
you've been a treasurer, you do this work. So that they can hear from something that's objective and not from this biased place. Can you explain to them the reason the information is needed, what information, because, I mean, if we say it just, but maybe from you.
You're on, Mr. Hill.
Standard process, obviously, and I'll speak to standard process and then current situation. Standard process would be, I would need to get contracts, new hires, things like that, in order, put them on an agenda, bring it before the board, we have a discussion, the board approves them, or doesn't approve them, either way. Then I would take them back to my office, and that would be the point to where once we receive either, you know, if it's a physical thing or a contracted service, once we know that that service has been provided, then we would make payment. If it's personnel, if it's a new hire, we, based on the new hire date that was provided within the board agenda, we would start payment to that employee. Then, now current situation, obviously, the disconnect is that you have, the board's no longer making, I don't make those recommendations to the board, I make them to the CEO. And some of those are not necessarily my recommendations, because previously it would be, you'd have the superintendent, you'd have the treasurer, both reported up to the board. Superintendent would make the recommendations, it would be my job then to say, yes, based on your recommendations and those costs involved, yes, we can afford that, or no, we can't afford that. So you have that pyramid almost. Currently, the CEO now has the power of superintendent and board. So he makes those decisions, and those recommendations go through his office. It wouldn't come to my office until it's official, until it's approved, signed off on, and then ready for payment, essentially. That's the CEO. That is the CEO's responsibility now. So that's current situation, new situation. And again, I'll speak to, I think some of the reasons why he's doing what he's doing and protecting information is because of the sensitivity of a lot of it. It's impacting people's lives, it's impacting, you know, specific, if we're eliminating positions, we're adding positions, it's impacting people's lives. So he doesn't want to put it out there until it is 100% official, which that's when I would receive it.
That makes sense for him to do that. Now, does that, when that happens in that process, as you're saying, going through the protocol, then does that go before the Academic Distress Commission?
No.
They approve? Okay, it's just totally the CEO.
CEO has
Okay,
full
then-
approval process,
So
yes.
then, but still, no matter what happens, this board, as it is structured now, has nothing to do with approving or disapproving.
Only on levying funds.
Only the levy.
Yes.
So
The
why
problem
we-
is the information that we
One impacts the
use
other.
to,
Impacts.
yes, all the support information that we, for all the levies, votes we've ever taken, all that information that we use to make those decisions with, that's what we're absent. It's not the answer, yes or no.
Okay.
It's the information that you use to actually, that informs you of the answer.
Of the answer, so.
That's what, so,
You know you're gonna
So
get this.
that's the information that you need totally in order to decide what you're going to do as far as the levy is concerned. Is that correct?
that is, yes. And we can have the information, we can have the person here to discuss it. I mean, this is, for us, this levy process probably isn't gonna be different than previous levy processes.
Okay, right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, that was totally at that time up to the board.
Right.
And all of that. Now it is no longer true. It's the
Yes.
CEO.
So
and
the
then
CEO has
ask
the option. He
question.
can choose not to engage in the process, or he can choose to engage in the process. That's his option.
But
can-
whether
he
he
can-
engages or not, you as a board could still put that levy on the ballot. That's what we're saying.
Yes.
That's what we're saying. That's your job.
Yes. One of the few.
One of the few, but hey.
Are we missing the word oversight?
Huh?
Are we missing the word oversight? I mean,
Oversight.
oversight of the district's money. I mean, that's what this board used to have, was
Yeah, you
oversight.
had that
We
then.
don't have
You
it.
don't
Yeah.
have it anymore. That's what I'm saying. You don't have it anymore. That's why I'm asking the question. No, we don't have that anymore.
No.
But you can still,
You see, you know,
Put that
there's
levy
not
on the
different
ballot.
information on renewal or new money.
that's, no,
It's-
we're talking about
it's-
renewal.
There's no difference in information. That's what I'm saying. There's no difference in information. It's information, whether it's
The
renewal.
difference is in the justification of the need. That's where the difference
So
is.
I mean, that renewal is needed. We need that-
New money is needed. Renewal money is needed.
We
There's
need
no
every
question of
penny
needing
we
money.
can get.
All right.
But you have to prove
It's a question of accountability with money.
Yep, thank you.
And they don't
Thank
get
you.
the chance, you
Yeah.
don't get to make a decision.
Okay, Mike, I will go back to my question. Let's contact the CEO and let's get this on the go.
Okay.
Get
Thank
this
you.
on the move.
Okay, we do need a motion to approve or amend the sign of minutes for February 5th.
I
regular
would like
board
to
meeting.
amend the minutes. It says that Yvonne Smith was absent.
Ooh.
I had bronchitis. Yeah, that's why I came and looked at this to see. It's Johnson.
Yeah, you should
the
be very
minutes.
offended. You should be really
Oh, I'm not.
You need a second on that?
So I need
Yes.
I'll second that.
the amendment. Discussion. Roll call.
Ms. Johnson? Not Ms. Smith?
I'm here.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes,
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
and that's for the, to amend. Now we need to vote to approve the minutes. Okay, now I need a motion to approve
So moved.
the
Second.
amended minutes.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
And as I stated earlier, there were a couple items, and again, Mr. Hawks and Ms. Haney, I appreciate you guys being here. It's been a long time since we've seen you at one of these meetings, so thank you for being here. But due to the lack of information that we had to have that discussion, we're gonna move that on to another meeting. But thank you so much. I guess I could have told you that a little earlier. I didn't even think about it. My apologies.
You're not gonna talk really loud.
Thank you. We
You
didn't
going?
get any,
Okay.
you know. Okay. With that being said, any other discussion?
Yes. I'd like to say that we had a superintendent that was here for some time, and then I read in the paper that he gave an email of saying goodbye to all of the city of Lorain. I think to let the students know and the community know how well the board can act, we should have some type of luncheon to say goodbye. We should have some kind of dinner. You should have a tea. But for him to just email in the paper after all those years, I think that it was too dismissive. And if he decides that he does not want that, that's a different thing. But to show the students that we can work together even when we disagree, we should at least try that.
Certainly we'll
That's a
reach
good
out to
idea.
him and see if he'd be interested in that. Are there any objections from the board?
That's a good idea.
Okay,
Just put that under new business.
certainly, yeah. Yep. Okay. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 5th at 5 o'clock right here at the Media Center. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Did you say five?
Yes, the regular meetings are now at 5 o'clock. So people,
Is that a Monday?
It is a Monday. That's our regular board meeting.
Yes. I have a question. Are we going to continue to have meetings every second and fourth Monday, or are we going to?
First and third.
First and third.
First and third.
It got
First
moved-
and third?
President's
Yeah,
Day.
This
it
one
got
got
moved
moved.
because of the holiday, President's Day.
So it's going to stay first and third
Correct.
At 5 o'clock.
at 5 o'clock.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Excuse me.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.
Hi, my name is Brandon Tolliver. I'm 16 years old and I am in the 10th grade at Lorain High School. I am a robotics student in Lorain High's Career Technical Education program. Robotics is part programming and part hands-on building. This program taught me how to use a very specific skill set. You get to use a power saw, drill bits, and a CNC machine. You get to use and do stuff that you can't do or use at home. After I started the program, I knew I made the right decision. I really like working with my hands. I like to see myself as an inventor. We program quite a bit of code. Programming codes is basically creating memory thoughts for a robot. You can make your robot do all kinds of things like fold clothes, walk, or even throw frisbees. I learned all of this in Mr. Bogan's class. There are teachers who just read. Then there are teachers who go out of their way to make learning fun. After my truly great experience in the robotics program, I now know what I want to do in my life, and I'm doing it thanks to Lorain High's Robotics Career Tech program.
Hi, my name is George Click. I'm 16 years old and in 10th grade at Lorain High School. I'm studying video production through Lorain High's Career Tech Education program. My first class was video production itself, and my second class was web design. I have a big imagination. Video production is a great release for it. The program is fun, interactive, and hands-on. You learn about the cameras and their functions in a comfortable environment. You spend a lot of time editing video using Adobe Photoshop and Premiere. My video production instructor, Mr. Trout, helped me a lot. He helps you with anything you need help with. He's good at explaining how things work. Taking this video production class is what really made me want to go into this field. This program at Lorain High helped give me confidence. I now know that this is what I want to do, and it's all thanks to Lorain High's Video Production Career Tech program.